Good morning, everybody, and welcome to my studio. It is me, Gideon. I'm your creatively fit coach, and let's get right into it. Today, I've got a few exciting things to share with you, but as we get into it, let me light a flame of hope for our beautiful world. And I got this beautiful um, deck from Colette Baron Reed, and it is the Spirit Animal Oracle. And these cards are just so beautiful, the artwork is amazing. So I thought I will shuffle the deck for us and just draw on some wisdom from the animals for today and see maybe if this message helps you or resonate with you in any way. Coyote spirit, trust in divine detours. Absolutely. I know that sometimes you plan things in your life to the T and then it happens in a different way. And it's very human to get freaked out and to try and control every little detail of our lives. But sometimes these detours that show up in our lives are exactly where Spirit wants to take us. So you can also look at the number 16 in numerology, or you can add it together and then you have the number 7, which is very spiritual. And then I'm just looking at the elements in the background. There is a beautiful Celtic knot in the background. And there are beautiful feathers, and feathers always speak to me of spirit, of freedom, of communication. There's just so much symbology in here, and this beautiful coyote spirit is embellished here around the crown and the forehead. So beautiful spirit. And then we also have the colors of orange and yellow, which also is a message all on its own. So I thought I'd share that with you. So I pray that everyone watching this video today will follow their divine detours and see where that may lead you. Okay, awesome. So I have already prepared my diary, as you can see, in this beautiful chartreuse color. And the reason why I have this beautiful color ready and handy is I also used my color box to do a color selection and inspiration, because today's prompt is tropical. I don't know why I roll my eyes every time, but I'm thinking maybe there will be drum rolls, or there will be fireworks, or there will be some sound that sort of goes together with the prompt. But anyway, so I wanted to do something different to what the typical idea that comes to mind for tropical, which is an island with some palm trees and coconuts and a beach, that kind of thing. And those ideas that crossed my mind. But then I thought, let's dive deeper. Let's do something different that we haven't done before. So thank you to the color cube. I drew card number 196 if you want to paint along, if you also have a color cube. And this beautiful tropical fish came to light, and I absolutely love this color palette. We've got lavenders, we've got purples, we've got deep, what do you call that, indigo purple, we've got a nice fern green and a nice chartreuse. Let's see what they call it. Lilac, ultraviolet, dark blue, meadow lark and lime. If those colors may be inspirational to you, then do paint along. Okay, so that is our sort of visual and palette inspiration for the day. I do think working with a limited palette can be very invigorating for your art, because you learn to look at value rather than how many colors in the rainbow can I throw into my artwork. And trust me, I'm a unicorn by nature, so you don't have to ask me twice to paint a rainbow. If you know me well, you know that I'm quite a colorful character. So this is my way to sort of say, okay, cool, you can work with vibrant and beautiful color, but let's limit it to maybe one or two and then see how that shines on their own. So I've got form out of my other method box as well. And form for me today is all about this beautiful little mate of ours, this little fishy in the most beautiful shades of lime and chartreuse. I drew watercolor as our main theme. So I've got here some watercolor paper already sealed down, and also oil pastel. Now lately, I must say I'm enjoying to combine the two, to work with watercolor and then go in with oil pastel on top. And I cannot wait to show you this beautiful set that I've blessed myself with this week. And then we're also going to look at emphasis and texture. So emphasis is definitely one of the design principles, and texture as well. So really looking at form, emphasis, and texture. And we're going to use a contrasting color scheme here today. If we look at the color chart, you will see that your yellows and yellow greens are opposite to your violet and red violets. And this is what we are basically seeing in this palette. We've got these beautiful violets, more specifically those two, and then there's a drop, a hint of turquoise in the background that we're going to play with, so I will draw that in as well. And then the contrasting color here is your yellow and yellow greens, just to bring in a bit of the color wheel. So this is going to be my inspiration. So I thought today I will show you guys how I use masking fluid. Now masking fluid is something that you can use if you work in watercolor. And if you're going to play with contrasting colors, or you want to preserve the light or lighter aspects of your paper, then masking fluid for watercolor is definitely a great time saver, and it allows you to work with your other colors and not worry about preserving the whites of your paper just by painting around it. That can be a bit tricky sometimes. So masking fluid really is just a latex base that I use in order just to block out a part of the paper where I don't want the watercolor to go. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to be using that today. I've got here my watercolor palette, and I've got a tear off palette. Finally went to the art supply store just for that, and some masking tape for all of these cute little papers that we've got. So I'm going to work on this watercolor paper. It's 300 grams of cotton watercolor paper, and it's got a little bit of a cold press or rough texture, which I think is quite lovely. And I've got a hot cup of tea because I'll be doing a lot of talking. Okay, so before we go into any other details, let's get into this masking fluid. Wow, it looks like my masking fluid has dried. I'm really hoping this will work today. So let's have faith and trust in our art materials. Oh, I see I blew out my flame of hope, so let's light it again. Righty then. So I've got here just a little bit of a mixing bowl with a bit of water in it. I've got my watercolor paints and my reference material. And I think to begin with, I want to mix quite a deep purple, but not the darkest yet. Remember, in watercolor we work from light into dark. So I think what I'm going to do is, let's start with a very light mixture that we can use over most of the background, and then we'll start developing that color into a deeper shade. So I'm just going to rinse my brush, and I'm going to work mostly today with this dark sizzling purple. which is this one over here in my watercolor palette. And it's quite a strong pigment, but it's a beautiful, beautiful purple. Definitely one of my favorite purples because of its blue bias. Okay, let's see. Maybe let's add a little bit of this red violet just to warm it up a little bit, sort of, kind of. Yeah, that sort of looks nice. But I think I'm going to add a bit of ultramarine blue as well. Nice. Okay. Now, obviously this looks quite dark here in my mixing bowl. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this brush aside for now. And I'm going to go in with my nice big squirrel hair wash mop brush. This is nice and big. And I need to just wet my page because I want the water to flow everywhere. So I'm going to use my clean water. And I've taped my paper down with masking tape, so that will prevent my paper from warping on me too much while I work with too much water. Too much water. A lot of water. So I just want to get this paper nice and wet. Not sopping wet, just nice and glossy, nice and juicy. And you can see I'm painting over the fish now because I'm trusting my masking fluid to do its job. And I'm just going to gently massage this water into my paper. And every now and again you'll see me just take my hair to the side because what I'm looking for is the lightest here on my left hand side, and I'm just trying to see where the paper is nice and wet and where the paper is dry. Do I have any puddles of water lying in one particular place, and where can I just take that water again to another place where the paper is a bit dry. And this is just going to activate my watercolor paper, and it will give my watercolor paint a little bit of sort of fluidity and blendability and flowability. Right, you guys, so while we're waiting for that watercolor paper to dry in the sun and keeping my fingers crossed that my doggy don't go and add some artistic flair to it, I wanted to share with you guys, I found this yesterday at a local art supply store, and this is imported from, I don't know, Korea, Japan, somewhere in Asia. And I was looking for some soft oil pastels because I only have really student grade hard ones, and I paid for it I think 130 rand here in South Africa. Welcome back everybody. So it looks like the paper is dry. It feels dry to the touch. You can see here the beautiful plumes created by the salt crystals, and I mean it varies from beautiful intricate little crystal stars to beautiful almost like sea plant like tentacles, what shall I call it? Beautiful plumes, beautiful structures. I just love it. So do just use a dry piece of paper. Let's use a kitchen towel, and then we're just going to gently wipe the salt crystals away. You don't have to be scared, it's not going to damage your paper. Just be careful around the masking fluid. Well, we're going to remove it now anyway, so. And I mean the background is basically done. We're going to play with our oil pastels for further texture and depth, but I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. We are loving what the watercolor has done for our painting thus far. You can see it. You can see the warmer colors are the brighter colors where the light is catching it, and then the chartreuse has got a bit of blue in it, right? That is used in the shadow areas or where the fin is a bit translucent to the background. So that helps to build form and shape by using paint or color. So we're going to try that. Okay, so let's put that aside. I think our fishy is good enough for me. Absolutely beautiful. Let's let that dry, and when we come back we'll play with our oil pastels. The fishy is dried, and I must say I quite like where we are with that. So I think we're gonna go ahead and switch mediums now to our beautiful oil pastels. So let's get that going. Okay, so what I thought of doing is using my black and my dark blue to sort of just develop this very deep background. So I'm just going to follow sort of the curves that happen naturally on my watercolor paper because it's sort of similar shapes on the reference material anyways, to just create sort of a finish here on my shape so that I know where this big piece of coral is positioned. So I'll leave spaces open for a little bit more depth, and I'm going to switch to my lighter purple, and I'm just going to run it over this foreground to just also bring in a little bit of texture and to unify my paper. This is that beautiful soft oil pastel with that buttery texture that I was raving to my Patreons about. Now this thing is a little bit more squiggly, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about those textures. Build my little cloud-like shapes and work around some of the other things that I want to leave alone. Not everything needs to be blended, but here and there I think it can add a little bit more dimension and texture and visual interest to the finished sort of exercise. But other areas we can leave rough because we do have the texture of the coral reef or whatever that is. I like it. I'm not going to fiddle anymore with it. There's always that little bit that you can add if you really want to. But I'm quite happy with it. I think we have arrived at the end of today's challenge. I really feel that I've represented that so well on this paper. We've used watercolor, we've used oil pastel, we've achieved texture, beautiful form and balance. What else was here? Emphasis. I mean, you can't miss the fish. The fish. The fish. Fish is Afrikaans, so that's why it came out like that. So I sort of used all of my prompts for the day, and I think I've nailed this challenge. So if you're new here, to remember to hit that subscribe button and the like button, and do drop me a comment. Feel free to ask questions or just share how this little exercise made you feel. And if you really want to go all the way, join me over at the Creative Heart. It is my private group on Facebook. That is where you can share images of your exercise in your art journal with me, and I can support you as a creatively fit coach. Do join our beautiful community over there. So I'll see you guys again next week for another episode of the Creative Heart. Stay creative and bye-bye for now. And there you have it. We have a beautiful tropical fish in our art journal. Today's prompt was tropical, and I decided to do something different to a usual tropical scene. So this beautiful fish, and so by the way, his name is Chartreuse, was what came out of this prompt for the day. So I really would like to see what you guys would do if you use this color scheme, or even the same fishy as me, or just represent the word tropical in your sketchbook or art book. And remember to share a photograph with me over on the Creative Art group on Facebook. I love to see what you guys are doing. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another episode of the Creative Art next week. Bye bye for now.